Welcome everyone. My name is Niki Lopez of Niki Lopez Creative, and you're watching The Circle, where every Tuesday, 8:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm sharing stories of artists, creative activists, social entrepreneurs, people doing great things in the world today. And today I have a very special guest, friend, and birthday girl, Jasmin Lewis.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. So Jasmin is an educator, an activist, and a feminist. So that's a lot. Thank you for being here. Happy birthday. I know you recently celebrated a birthday.
I did on Sunday, June 14th.
Awesome. And so I pulled a couple of things from your bio. So Jasmin is a secondary English teacher in Palm Beach County. Jasmin's currently pursuing her PhD at St. Thomas University. Congrats to that.
Thank you.
A lot of hard work. Selected as one of the few teachers to participate in the High Impact Teacher Corps for the state of Florida. She serves as the Gay Straight Alliance sponsor at a local high school, volunteers with HRC Human Rights Campaign. Jasmin also serves as the board of director for Palm Beach County Human Rights Council, as well as an LGBTQ advisory board for Discovery Palm Beaches.
Yes. Oh, wow. When do I sleep?
I know, right? So assuming that you started all this with education, what was your connection to So little glitch, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so what's your start into education? What drew you to education?
I knew that I had to be a teacher when I was in the first grade, and it was all because I'm from Mississippi, if you can't tell from the accent. I had a teacher that told me that I couldn't be a teacher, that, Black people usually don't go into that field.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believed her, because when I looked around the school, the elementary school I was at, I did not see any Black faces. I would see sometimes like the cafeteria worker or the custodian or the bus driver, they were Black, but there were no Black teachers. So I was like, geez, that upset me. So my little 7-year-old self said, you know what? I'm going to be the first one. I'm going to be the first Black teacher ever. I didn't know that there were Black teachers. They just weren't at my school. But in my mind, I just knew that I needed to be in a position to inspire and instill a love of learning in students instead of putting limitations on their goals.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting that you say that, because there's so many stories like that where it's a teacher who's meant to inspire and to motivate and to mold that child into what they can be in the future to their highest potential, to say to some children, that's not for you, you can't achieve this, and kind of limit that child. So I think that's really,
bold
of you to say, well, I'm just going to do my own thing and prove that I could do this thing. So
it definitely started from a place of like revenge. Like, I'm going to show her. And as I, finished through primary school and got into college, I was like, no, I want to be a teacher. And when I would do my student teaching, it was just something I was so excited about. So even to this day, like I kind of dread getting up in the mornings, but once I get in my classroom and get around my students, I'm like, oh, I did the right thing.
Awesome. And I'm just going to take a few moments to acknowledge we have some people live. We are live on Facebook in 2 locations, Niki Lopez Creative, as well as Outclick Magazine. We're live on YouTube and Periscope. So we have G saying, hey, Shire, who's an artist and educator as well, saying,
Hey.
Elvira, my tia Joanne, saying greetings to everyone. And Johada saying greetings. And Johada also works with a lot of youth through her nonprofit, where she's helping teens dealing with bullying and being anti-bullying and all that type of support, doing a lot of stuff with our young people. So
Um,
I just want to say, I think it takes an amazing person to want to get into education. I think there's certain professions that you really need to have someone that has a passion to do those things, and dealing with the youth is absolutely one of them.
Absolutely, for sure. The day I'll never forget in college when I called my mom and told her I was a pre-med major, like getting ready to get ready for med school, and I called my mom and I was like, I'm going to change my major. I want to be a teacher. And she was like, what? And I just knew I had to follow my heart. And it really is a calling because some days are tough. Some
Mm-hmm.
days are especially tough and you don't feel valued. But I cannot put into words the feeling you get when you have a student who is reluctant to learn, who, is reluctant to come to school, period. And you help them. You can
Mm-hmm.
be that sense of security for a child. It
Mm-hmm.
feels good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are your goals with teaching? Because I know you've had some like big track goals that you're trying to accomplish.
To run all the schools in America.
Yeah.
I do eventually aspire to become the U.S. Secretary of Education. That's my big dream. I am going to be looking into some administrative roles within the next year or two. So I know I want to be at the table where a lot more decisions are being made that will impact the learning of all students.
Awesome. Awesome. And we have Shari. She said, I'm glad that you answered the call. Yes. Yeah. And it starts, with a lot of things that's going on today. A lot of those things, it starts from the home, it starts from the school. That education is so vital. You're really shaping minds.
Yes, absolutely. I know I teach high school, and you're thinking by that age, like, oh, some of them have gotten all the way through high school and they haven't had that teacher to impact them or to instill a love of learning, and you can still catch them. So even though I'm teaching 11th and 12th graders, I feel like I can still catch them. I can still reel them in. I can really show them just how important an education is, and especially a good grasp of the English language.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. And so, outside of being a wonderful teacher and impacting the students, you also are an activist, an advocate for many things. What was that jump for you from education to the work that you do as an activist and within the community?
Well, it just seems like an extension of my job. I feel like I'm always a teacher no matter where I am at. I feel
Mhm.
like that's my duty. So when I'm out in the world and I'm advocating, or I am, working with PBC HRC in Palm Beach or the Human Rights Campaign, I'm educating. And I feel
Mhm.
like that is ultimately what I need to do.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, Johada said a teacher didn't impact her until high school. So you're right. So absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, it can happen there. My favorite teacher to this day is my 12th grade English teacher. I
Mhm.
hated English up until that teacher, and now I teach it. So it definitely can happen.
And so the GSA, some people may be familiar with that term. What is that, for someone who may not be familiar with that term, or that is in the school system?
The GSA is an organization for Gay Straight Alliance, and it's basically just a club that you have at the school. Everyone is welcome to attend, but it's a safe space for our LGBTQ plus students. And
Mhm.
so I'm the sponsor, and I basically facilitate meetings. I organize guest speakers to come in and just give students to come a space to come in and talk about anything that they are afraid to ask their parents
Mhm.
or another adult. We just want to give them that blanket of security.
Mhm. What are some of the challenges? Do you face any challenges with having that? Because I know sometimes people, anything with LGBT, they're just like so apprehensive. What are some of the challenges, and why is the Gay Straight Alliance important?
Um, there are challenges at time because you need the support from administration, you need the support from community because um, I'm trying to see how I want to word this. It can be difficult because you don't, at the end of the day, I want to keep my job, but I also want to make sure that I am providing services that can also benefit our students. And
Mm-hmm.
they come to you and they talk to you about some heavy stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I have to refer students to guidance because, I have to cover my end to make sure that the students ultimately are safe at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be difficult when you don't have administration or community leaders backing you up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what about HRC? What type of organization is HRC, and what role do you play with the Human Rights Campaign?
Well, HRC is the largest LGBTQ human rights advocacy group in America, and we basically fight for the rights and protections of LGBTQ people. And for the South Florida Steering Committee, I am currently the Fed Club, one of the Fed Club co-chairs. So I try to go out and get donors to come and support the organization.
Awesome. And we have a comment from Nick Harris. Speak your truth, honey. Those students love Jasmine because she cares so much about them. She fights hard for every child. That's
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think that's really important because, like you said, one teacher said, "Oh, you can't be a teacher," and then you're like, "I want to advocate for you for whatever that highest potential that you have, and and get you connected to education and that journey." So that's really important.
It is. It is. And I'm lucky to be a GSA sponsor at the school that I am at
Mm-hmm.
because we do have some teachers in that building that really do get behind those students and just love on them.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And so, I mean, you already have a lot going on with the education. Like, why do you feel it's important? Because I know you said you feel it's an extension of education, but why do you feel it's important to volunteer or to be a part of these different clubs and HRC and all the work that you do? What's your personal connection to those things?
I feel like I have a responsibility to give back. I grew up extremely poor. And I can remember those that would come and volunteer and give back to the community. I always wanted to be in a position to give
Mhm.
back. So I especially like to give back to those in the queer community as well as our youth, because at the end of the day, we're all we have. You're
Mhm.
supposed to help each other. So that's why I do it, because someone did it for me.
Awesome. Johado is asking, what school are you at?
I'm in Palm Beach, Palm Beach County. So I teach at a school, Palm Beach Gardens High School.
Awesome. And so, I saw that you refer to yourself as a feminist. What's your definition of a feminist?
Just a person that supports, empowers, and uplifts women.
Awesome. And so, do you see any connection between like you as an educator, as an activist, as a feminist in terms of, there's a lot of things going on in the world today. We're at this point where people are really, oh, I think we lost her. We're going to wait until we jumps back in. We are live. So, guys, while we're waiting for Jasmin to come up, come back into the stream, this is live broadcasting, so you have some glitches that happens every now and then. I do appreciate you all being here with me and sharing this journey of sharing stories as well as sharing the links. I see people sharing it and getting people involved, tagging people. Those are things that gets people interested, inspired. Let me see. Can you explain the statue? So let's see what happened, because I think something happened on her end. We're going to give it a minute. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Nick, for letting us know. So she got kicked off. We're going to get her back on here. Thanks, G. Great comment with us far. We're patient. That's fine. Oh, thank you, Johada. Yes, thanks for being here. So yeah, we're live. So whatever happens, it happens in real time. I am super grateful that you all are patiently waiting. So we're going to have Jasmin come back in. We were just getting riled up. I see Ryan's on here. Let's see if I need to send her back the link. So, Nick, I just sent you all the link. You just have to click back on that same link that was in the email. And okay, so let's see. Okay, I see. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And we are back. Yeah, so, this is live. So sometimes there's glitches that occur. It could be something. I mean, yesterday T-Mobile wasn't even working at all with so many people.
I know.
So give it a second, but we do have some people who's waiting patiently to have you on there. So thank you for hopping back on. And so, yeah, so what I was asking in terms of, like, with the climate of the world today, in particular America, in terms of equality and racial injustice, racial bias, how do you see, the things that you've done, your experience from being an educator, an activist, and a feminist, how do you see that playing a part? Or like, how do you use those tools to, to share or empower people? Like, what's your opinion about what's going on right now?
Well, what I always try to do is to be a voice for those who may not be able to share their own voice. What's going on in the world today is just eye-opening for some, but to the Black community, especially, we have been seeing this for a while, and I am curious to see how things are going to play out with everything, but I'm inspired by some of the words from local activists that I'm seeing. I'm inspired when I drive down the road and I see people out protesting, and I am inspired about the change that's going to take place for our Black community in America.
Absolutely. And I just, I feel it's a long time coming.
Right.
We've ever had this much momentum in one particular period of time. What are some things that you could share with people who may be struggling to see, like, why is it, sometimes people, which I've gotten a lot from some nonprofit organizations, where they're afraid to say Black Lives Matter because it's they put it as a political thing when it's not a political thing. What are some of the things that you can offer to someone who's having a challenge with this time, or doesn't know what they're doing, or even just Black people in general who's just like, we're tired, we're exhausted? Like, what are some things you could share with them?
What I've been sharing with our allies, especially, is to just educate yourself. There's so much literature out there that can educate you on how to be an anti-racist. You can attend racial justice or racial equity institutes. You can also, I'm actually reading this book right now. I'll hold it up. Uh, I'm Still Here, Black Dignity. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Brown. It is amazing. So the resources are out there, and I just feel like people have to take a personal responsibility to educate themselves during this time.
Absolutely. Do you see any challenges or any differences with, well, right now school's out, but like with some of the young people, do they reach out for like resources from you or support?
Well, what is funny that you actually mentioned that each year we start off with the unit teaching the play A Raisin in the Sun, and I talk about the American dream and how some people have a harder chance of achieving that dream than others. And so we talk about implicit biases and everything. So last week I had a student email me and was like, these people need to take that implicit bias test that you gave us. So it just made me feel good that, they were paying attention and that they are actually seeing that the stuff we're doing in the classroom can be used in the real world. It is relevant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for some that may not know that term, how do you explain that to, because there's people that may not be familiar with implicit bias.
It's just, to me, in a sense, it's like a prejudice kind of that you don't know that you have. It's just there in your mind, and you don't know why it's there or whatnot. Maybe it's the way you were brought up, but it's just a prejudice that you may have.
Absolutely. Well, we have a question. We have G. How do you encourage your students and younger people to read in a time with so much digital distractions?
Oh, if you don't want to read a hard book, I can send you the text on your Kindle. There's also News ELA, which is an online digital subscription to a magazine, and it has the terms, it has the literature in phrases that young people would enjoy. So they are actually asking to read. They want to read these articles. They're curious about what's going on in the world right now, and they want to be able to explain it. And sometimes just reading like the New York Post, it may just be too much. So I always try to find resources that will tailor the text to meet the needs of, secondary education students. So they've been encouraged to read because they want to know what's going on.
And so my other question is, because you're an educator and I know you have like some larger goals in terms of the education system, what are some things that you feel needs to change or be modified within the school system?
For sure, there needs to be more work that is centered around employing, supporting, and retaining a culturally diverse, ethnically diverse group of individuals within the school. Students shouldn't go to a school where it's just all white people. The administrator's white, everybody's white. Children tend to learn better when they're learning from people that kind of look and, that mirrors them. I didn't have my first Black teacher until college. And I wonder sometimes, if I would have done better in high school had I had, a Black face in front of me teaching me. Because so many times, especially now, we have these white teachers that are in front of our Black and brown students, but they don't really understand the culture. They don't understand how to talk or reach Black and brown students. And so that child gets lost. That's why we have such huge gaps in achievement between white students and then our Black and brown students. And there's like, well, they just don't want to learn. Yes, they do. You just need to figure out how to reach them, how to grab their attention.
Which again goes back to someone who's really passionate and connected to what they're doing. Because if it's someone who's just like, this is just my job, They're not going
Right.
to do that extra work. And each child learns differently, and each child has a different
Absolutely.
approach to get to them. Absolutely. What are some things parents can be doing, or what are some of the challenges between, like, teaching young people and the parents? Because I know sometimes teachers struggle with, you know, you teach one thing at school and then you don't have that support at home.
Well, I always tell parents, you're your child's first teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You're your child's first teacher. We're a team. We're in this together. I cannot do this without you. I am constantly making sure that the parents of the students I teach, they know what's going on. They get newsletters, they get text messages, they even get pictures throughout the day. Like if we're working on a group, I'll send parents like, hey, look at Johnny doing this project. He is on it today. Parents love to get those updates. They love to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you notice a student is slacking, if you call that parent and like, hey, Marley's slacking today, if that's the first time they've heard from you, they may be a little reluctant. But if they know, Miss Lopez, she checks in with me, she's genuinely invested, they're going to make sure that you're getting that support needed at home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I see Sylvia, she's agreeing with you when you're saying about, like, having more diversity in the teachers. She said she had the same problem in school as well. Um, and, like, some people don't really see the difference with why diversity is so important. And sometimes I feel like maybe it's, Black people, people of color, people who are diverse, who feel that it's really important. What are some of your opinions of why diversity is important for people who may not get it, or just in general?
Because you don't want to feel alone. I bring it back to education. High school is already tough as it is. It's even more difficult when you walk in and you feel like no one can relate to you. You don't have a place where you fit in. So diversity is so important because that child can come in and be like, oh, there's a Black teacher here if I need support there. Or there's an organization that supports LGBTQ people. So diversity is important so that a person feels like they belong. And when a person feels like they belong, they flourish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So with all that you have going on, what do you do in your downtime? Like, do you have any self-care practices or things you do to relax and kind of take your mind off of everything that's going on?
When I have downtime, I love to go for long walks on the beach with my partner, Nick. Um, I love to read. You can't see my little table right now, but I have so many books that I am reading. I like to write. I like to journal. I am in the process of finishing up a children's book that I'm writing.
Oh, wow.
So,
Congrats.
thank you. So I just like to do that. It helps to, ease my mind. I have a wonderful therapist that I like to call and talk to whenever, things are getting a little too stressful or if I just want to talk.
That's awesome. I
So
think
that's how
it's
yeah.
really important. Yes. And we have Sarah. She said, when a person feel like they belong, they flourish. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah. So, what's next for you? Like, what do you have on the, well, you said you're doing a children's book. What inspired you to do the children's book?
Well, I know I knew I always wanted to write children's stories, but I got this idea a couple of weeks ago. I was laying in bed and my daughter was working on some schoolwork and it was dealing about with onomatopoeias. And I was like, oh, like I'm going to write a children's book. And so I went through it, literally took me 30 minutes and I wrote the whole book. So right now I'm in the process of like looking for illustrators and everything. I'll talk with you later, Nikki.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm excited about it. I am, trying to see what's the next step, but I think it's time for me to start publishing some of my works.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, congrats to that.
Thank
Um,
you.
we have G saying, oh, wow, congrats to wrapping up your children's book. And then we
Thank
have
you.
comments from Nick. She says she's beautiful and brilliant. She's in a PhD program now, soon to be Dr. Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's cute, but it's great that you have, a support system. So, having a partner that supports you, that pushes you, and that's real. That's got to be amazing.
It is. I'm definitely blessed.
Absolutely. And we have LJ saying, "Woo, congrats!" Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
absolutely. So, if people want to get in touch with you or figure out, hey, I want to volunteer, what's the best way for someone either want to get to you to get to HRC or to get to any of these places, or they just want to start volunteering and doing things in the community? What can you suggest for them to do?
They could definitely reach out. HRC South Florida, we have our own Facebook page. I wonder did you already put that link in the box?
Let me see.
But you could reach out on there. You can also just reach out to me on Facebook and Instagram as well. You can just send me a private message and I could connect you to who you need to be connected with.
Okay, and so I'm just putting in the chat group the link to HRC South Florida, and I posted your Instagram, but I'll post your
Facebook as well.
Facebook as well. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And my email is jasminklewis@gmail.com.
Okay.
So if you want to reach me via email, you can email me there. No E at the end of Jasmin.
I'll put that in the group as well to email you. Absolutely. So, Jasmin, thank you so much for being here. Oh, before I wrap, I've almost forgot my question, my regular question. If you had access to a time machine, where would you go? To the past or the future, and why?
I would definitely go to the future so that I can kind of see like what's going to happen, then come back to the present and then change some things. Like, oh, this is going to happen. Rewind. Let me try that again.
Okay.
Is that cheating?
Well, kind of, because there are some who believe that once you change one thing, it can change. It can have a ripple effect in so many different areas. So, sometimes it sounds very tempting, but it could actually change in another way, and that you may not expect. So,
I know.
I'm not a time traveler, so. Yes. So, it's always a pleasure, seeing what you do, talking to you, sharing what you do, educating the world, advocating for the community, seeing what you're doing. And I really want to wish you good luck with your book, and definitely waiting to hear more about it. Any final words before we wrap up?
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I see. G said, great interview. Really enjoyed the chat. Not sure I knew Jasmin is soon to be Dr. Lewis. I love the goals of Secretary of Education.
Thank you.
So, for those who are online with me live, thank you for being here. Please remember to share this link, tag people in it. If there's comments, you can put it in there. Jasmin and I both will have access to answer anything that we've missed. For those who are going to watch it on the replay, thank you so much for joining us and watching this. And you can also share that. Someone's there waiting to be inspired. There's somebody who's just like, I want to be a teacher. And, you could be a catalyst for that. So thank you again, Jasmin, soon to be Dr. Lewis.
Thank you.
And I will see you all next week. Take care.
Bye.